Hello Miss Minnie, it's Gina from the future. I just want to say the video that you are about to watch is really hectic, really crazy. I say a lot. The beginning of it, I didn't really know what I was talking about, to be fair. But then when we started to get into the 1900s, I understand what I was talking about. Enjoy the video. Hi Miss Minnie, it's Gina Witherly, and today we are going to be doing a get ready with me talking video. My inspiration was Bailey Sarian. She's a YouTube creator who talks about murder and mystery, but we're not doing that today. We're talking about history and makeup, mainly history. The one thing about her is she's like really well organized and she doesn't really stutter on anything she says. Well, I will probably stutter. I would probably have to look over my screen over here and just look at my notes. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this video and let's dive in. So we are starting off with 1600s. This era, was really dominated by Queen Elizabeth at the time. I don't know what Queen Elizabeth she was, like what number she was, but she was the Queen of England, and she inspired the fashion at the time. And at the time they wore like really big bodices to like frame out their like shape, and they wore like these ugly collars to make their face stand out, and they were like these like puppy little like sleeves and stuff, and that's pretty much it. Like it was like long skirt stuff to like make them look, at the time they thought it made them look like shaped, or I don't know, it was like corsets. And well, on my notes it said they were called middie collars, they said. And a lot of the fashion at the time was inspired by Anne Valisor, which was a fashion icon at the time. And I did write about men's on every decade except for the 1600s. I did forget about the men, but starting off with moving on to 1700s, women's were three-piece. It was the men's who wore a three-piece silk, or they would wear like a coat or stuff like that. And women were like cotton gowns, generally open down from the front, but sometimes closed, even over a matching coat with like an ensemble. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but hopefully it does. I don't really know much about the 1700s, and to me it's just kind of hard to study something I don't really know. But yeah, they were like the lace neck frill with sleeve ruffles and gates, and a wired headpiece known as the fontage. Remained the dominant form of dress between the 1700s and 1709. The gown is constructed like a kimono with two lanes of silk that extends from the front to the back hem, and the fullness of the fabric is set into pleats over the shoulder. Hopefully that makes sense. I got all this information on this fashion website. I can link it for you if you want me to. But 1900s, known as the Victorian era. So the fashion really did start changing in the 1800s, 1600s, and 1900s didn't really change changed that much, but I guess people just got really bored of the fashion and how like bulky and tight fitting it was. So they were like, oh, time for a change. So 1800s was known as the Victorian era, and the Victorian era is where people at the time wore natural dresses, which I don't really know if they were natural dresses, but they were natural dresses instead of so many layers and wires. So they cut off the layers and wires, and they wore dresses that showed their natural figure. A lot of the dresses there lost their volume. It was loose in the back and the front, and they started wearing bodices. The neckline of the dresses were like a V or a square neck, and during the day the low neckline could be filled with chemisy or tucker in the early years, which I don't know what that is, but it seems like it's a material of something. And then this is when I start writing about men. I'm sorry, Miss Minnie. This is really chaotic. Hopefully you're keeping your interest in this. But men wore matching coats, waistcoats, and trousers with they had like moustache, like Prince Albert, and had high standing collars and tied at the neck with a large bow tie. Okay. Dun dun dun! Now, we are starting off. Sorry, I need to actually put this out. Now we are starting off in the 1900s. So I'm gonna break them down in decades. I'm not really gonna look at my computer much because I think you are more familiar with the you're probably more familiar with the 1900s, and so am I, but I might look over here just in case. I'm sorry if that last part was like really mumbly and stuttery. I don't really know what I'm talking about, as you can tell, but I'm trying, and that's all that really matters. So yeah, starting off the 1700s, starting with the 1800s. Sorry, I am like all over the place today. A lot of women wore corsets, and they were fashionable at the time. It pretty much just made your chest bigger, and they were like frilly blouses, and they had like decoration and lace collars. You could wear with a dress or a skirt, and girls back then wore a lot of hats, and men on everyday basis wore color shirts, and over their shirts they would wear like a little vest with like a bow tie. If you ever seen Mr. Sanford, he always wears those outfits, and it's like the cutest things ever. Sorry, where was I? They would wear a suit and a top hat with sometimes a little cane. I mean, if you've seen it in movies, you probably know what I'm talking about. Fun fact, when I was little, I thought people at the time wore black and white because that's what the movie showed. But I was like 13 when I learned that it's not true, and that people back then were not actual black and white. It was just, at the time, they didn't have colors, so didn't have like any colored film. So I mean, that's what I thought, but okay, probably don't care about that. Moving on, I have a lot more energy at home than at school. You probably don't care about that too. I'm gonna stop mumbling. We are now gonna move on to the 1910s. This is not professional. Sorry. Okay. Moving on to 1910s. At the time, it didn't seem like much change in the 1910s. They wore shirts with high collars and bold stripes, and pretty much the same in the 1900s. Sorry, Miss Vinny. My storage was getting full, but I was just pretty much talking about how the oh my gosh, the glare! How the 1910s was the women just wore white shirts, black skirts, they wore gloves, sometimes an umbrella to match, and they wore like hats. And I think I talked about the men's, but if not, I'll just talk about them again. They were pretty much the same thing as 1900s. They just wore collars, like collar shirts with like bold stripes and stuff. Sorry, the glare is so bad right now, but you're not here for the makeup, you're here for the history. Now we are moving on to the Roaring 20s, which is a really, to me, it's like the most interesting decade along with 1920s. The Roaring 20s, also known as the Flapper area, were a lot of French dresses, long necklaces. They were like gloves with high heels. Their dress would be sleeveless with fringe, lots of fringe, and they would wear this like headpiece too. And the dresses would be like more low cut. That's at the time people were being like more scandalous, showing more skin, because by like before the 1900s, I mean, yeah, they were like getting rid of like all the like tight stuff, but they were like still modest. And now we're moving on to the 1920s, and I mean, it's less modest because that's whenever girls started showing off more of their ankles, and they wore those headpieces, and they would also wear stockings with them. And when I think of flapper girls, I think of them with like cigars, like how they show on the movies. Now we are moving to the 1930s, also known as the Great Depression. The Great Depression, they still somehow had money for fur coats, but I think that's from people more like upper class, I'm guessing. And then, or it was like either fake fur. They had custom jewelry with gloves, with gloves and scarves. They would have accessories, and hats were really popular at the time. Girls wear like two-tone Oxford shoes or chunky shoes. I don't really know what those are, but that's what Google said. Sorry, I'm trying to find. People at the time really wanted to dress like Hollywood. What does that sound? Because at the time Hollywood was becoming a really big thing. And then it also said like the boys wanted like a feminine look, but also like a boyish look. They just wanted to get rid of all the like heavy stuff that they had been wearing since, you know, the 1800s. The stock market didn't have a lot to play in the fashion industry. Since many people didn't have money and they wore ankle dresses and they wanted natural stuff around their waist. For men, wore a lot of plaid and wore suits still. And then I'll come back after I finish. Alright, I am back now, and we are now going to move on to 1940s. They wore a lot shorter dresses. Women have like square necks. They wore dresses, and they started wearing blouses and length skirts. The dresses would also have collars on them, and they would be matching too. Men dressed the same way how they dressed in the 30s. I mean, there wasn't much of a difference in the 30s or the 40s. But we are now moving on to the 1950s, which is, in my opinion, and I feel like in everybody's opinion, was the most important decade for like fashion wise. So in the 1950s, the movie Grease really like portrayed the 1950s well, in my opinion. I mean, I wasn't born in the 1950s, obviously, but I think it portrays it really well. So in the 1950s, they wore a lot of saddle shoes, the bobby socks with the little fringes on top. They wore poodle skirts. They wore floral fabric. They wore knee-length skirts. They were like really puffy too. They wore halter neck dresses, blazer jackets, kitten heels, and any dresses that would give you like a hour silhouette look. The men wore like Leatherman jackets, and then they would wear chunky glasses with some bowling shirts and skinny ties, a white shirt, and black pants. Moving on to the 60s, Saturday Night Fever said, my mom said, inspired a lot of the fashion in the 1960s. The girls wore ponchos, moccasins, love beads, peace signs, chain belts, polka dot fabric. They wore like bubble sleeves. They wore bell-bottom jeans, tie-dye, Jesus sandals, headbands, a lot of bright colors, mini skirts, go-go boots, and patterns. 1960s is whenever like hippies became, and like just like peace. I mean, that was everybody's like thing, was peace. So which makes sense. In 1950s, 1960s is, I think, whenever people started wearing like bright colors, like more colors. 1970s were tube tops, flare jeans, mini skirts, rompers, white pants. A lot of people wore the 60s outfits too. Turtleneck sweaters. Men wore like turtleneck sweaters, oversized collars, high-waisted pants, and platform shoes. Overall, men embraced like individuality, you know. I mean, I feel like that's 1950s. 1960s is when men stopped wearing like suits like on an everyday basis, and they started wearing more like casual things. Even though like I wouldn't really say 1950s was really casual, but for back then I would say it's casual for them. 1980s, women wore khakis and polo shirts. They would also wear like khaki skirts and stuff. They would wear puffy shoulder sleeves, flare skirts, and spandex leggings. They would wear velour leg warmers and poncho pants, like the really big ones. I think those are so cute. I think they're coming back into style actually. They would wear bright colors, bulky sweaters, trench coats, high-waisted bottoms, off-the-shoulder tops, mini skirts, ripped jeans. The men at the time wore pastels, neon, matching shell suits, brand logos, because brands at the time, like bands were really big back then. Graphic t-shirts, acid jeans. Alrighty. Sorry this is super long. This is a very long video. But I'm gonna keep like the 1990s to now a lot shorter, because obviously we lived in this time zone, so you lived in the 1990s, so I'm pretty sure you're really familiar with this. But they just wore acid wash jeans, tube tops, capri pants, high-waisted jeans, crop tops, oversized clothing, tracksuits, Doc Martens, chokers. Clueless was really big back then, and that did inspire a lot of the women's fashion at the time too, because everyone wanted to be the girl from Clueless. I do not know her name. I haven't really seen the movie, and I really need to, because it looks really good. The men back then wore biker jackets, baggy jeans, high top shoes, cargo pants, bucket hats, and then plaid skirts. Interesting. And then they would wear like windbreakers. I don't know if like some of the information is true because I did get a lot of it off of Google. And then 2000s, Britney Spears was a big inspo in the 2000s. Okay, so they wore a lot of like cargo pants, platform sandals, velour tracksuits were really big, especially like Juicy and stuff. Hairpins, statement tees, low-rise jeans. They wanted to like a Y2K look, leather jackets, statement dress. Also, I'm not talking about makeup in this video at all, but I do remember that they put like concealer on their lips, and I think that's like a really interesting time. I really don't know why they did that because I don't know why, but I think that's really interesting. Men in the 2000s wore leather jackets, overcoats, cut jeans, hardy t-shirts, flannels, v-necks, and then like now I feel like people have been more casual and we wear like workout suits and we wear just like really casual things now. But it's really interesting to see how 1970s to the 2000s changed so much, because in the like 1600s people were literally wearing really poofy dresses with like a very tight corsets. They were so much layers back then, and now we only wear one layer. We wear like a t-shirt and like shorts, you know. We don't wear stuff like that anymore. But it was really interesting on researching, and I hope that was a good video. Sorry, Miss Me, I did say a lot. I didn't know half of the stuff I was talking about. I had to look on my screen a lot, but I hope I just get a good grade on it. And I really enjoyed your class, and thank you.